and I drew this in Fusion. Took me a long while to understand how I was going to do this because I wanted it to fit with this part. So this is going to be wood, but it's
Yeah.
currently a 3D print. So I want the legs of the furniture to have like almost
Nice.
like the wood is dripping down
Melting.
into the melting into the brass or the other
Wow.
way around.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jonathan from Autodesk. Welcome to Shop Talk, the podcast series where we talk to makers, inventors, designers, and engineers from shop to shop. Today, we're speaking with Pierre Bolmer from the Swedish Maker. Pierre's channel focuses on 3D printing and woodworking, two topics that don't normally go together, but as you'll see from this episode, they actually fit perfectly. Let's dive in. So, Pierre, there's a lot of things you do that I'm impressed with, but I just want to start with your beard, which is, so I feel like I have a training beard compared to yours. Like I'm sort of like putting my toe in the water a little bit, but like no, it's not really a beard. I mean, that's a proper beard you got going on there. Is your wife okay with that? Has she just made peace with it, or
Actually, when she met me, and that was a long time ago in like 2008, I already had a beard.
ah,
So she kind of got into it with this face.
okay.
I think she would be more scared if I just shaved it off one day and she'd be like, "Who are you?" Let my
Yeah,
husband go. But I guess it started mostly like laziness. Like,
yeah.
do I need to shave this every day? Also, I have a pretty tiny face. Like I have
Okay.
no chin at all. But with the beard, it kind of changes the shape of my face.
So you're coming to us from your 3D print room, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
having seen your videos, I recognize that glass door. This is, yeah, okay. I can kind of see the get a handle on the space now.
yeah. So it's a
Um,
very small space, and printers are next to me, and on the other side is like a sink and basically a tiny kitchen.
yeah. So you've got that's basically a clean room. Your other
Yeah.
room is where all the sawdust is, like the larger room there, and then this is where you keep your machines from getting clogged up.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
And but this was kind of I made this as a temporary room because from the get go when I built my workshop, I wanted to have this space as well for the sawdusty part and build since I've built this in a barn. So on top of the workshop is like 3 meters more that I could make use of. So the
Wow.
idea is to build like a 3D printing room up there and keep the sawdust down here and like have an office with a view over the fields. Because also I've noticed like I come here to podcast once a week with a friend, and last couple of weeks I've started like having a cough as soon as we start podcasting. I'm like, where's the cough start come from? And I've heard some people like develop some kind of I don't know
Yeah.
some tingling sensation from PLA and
Hmm.
stuff like
Yep. Yeah. There's a particulate matter goes into the air from those things anytime you're using thermoplastics. So yeah, and I believe it's similar to the resin allergy where it builds up over time. I think all allergies are kind of like that, but
that.
it builds up over time, so you're more sensitive to it. Yeah, I knew a guy, one of the engineers at Autodesk who was working on like FDM experiments and stuff. He had a full uh evacuation vent system for his. So
Mm.
he would print and then close doors, and then this fan would kick in and like to kind of keep everything out of the room. Um, so yeah, something to think about there. Most people don't really consider that, but if it's something you're doing every day, right? Like
Mm.
it that builds up over time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you do
I
have a
guess.
huge barn there. I saw I saw one of the videos where you were just starting to clean it out, and
Mm.
you should check it out for the audience. It's if you've ever had to clean out a garage or a barn or something like that, this is kind of a different level of having to clean stuff out. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we moved to this farm like 3 years ago, my I didn't have a workshop. I had a small room that I could store my stuff in, and I recorded a bunch of videos from that room. But the main idea was always to build a workshop in the barn. But the problem was I didn't know how. I was just like I walked in there and there were two big silos, and I was like, the silos are in the way. How do I even remove them? So there were so many questions. So it took a while, but eventually we got started and took the silos down, which was very dangerous, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared of heights. So I ended up sending up my wife and my father-in-law, and he's 80 years old. He just
Oh man.
climbed up the ladder in wellies and
Wow.
stood there. And yeah, it felt dangerous.
Yeah.
Uh,
If
but
you
eventually
see the
it
video, like
was,
this, these are real silos. This is not like, some whatever DIY version here.
yeah, they were really tall and massive. And yeah, there were so many things to consider whilst how do you actually build a workshop in a barn. But I ended up with a solution where I kind of built a house inside of a house
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. That's how
Um,
I do it. I mean, otherwise you're insulating the whole thing and cladding the whole thing and trying to keep the moisture out. And
yeah,
you're better off just relying on the roof and the walls to keep the rain and snow out, right? And then
yeah,
you have a climate controlled dry box on the inside.
yeah. So yeah, that was a big project that fortunately was done this May, I think. So it's still a kind of a work in progress, but building something like this, when you've moved in and you know there's pieces of trim that you need to install, you're like, I'll do that later because I need to work now.
I mean, let's just kind of get back to basics for a minute here for the audience that's not familiar with your work.
Mm,
You're the Swedish Maker. You have
yeah.
a YouTube channel. Tell us about that and what other aspects of this brand and this creator persona are out there.
Yeah, so it started back in 2019. I was kind of tormenting my friends on Instagram with what I made at home because I've always been like I'm some sort of a maker making things. And I realized like maybe I should kind of create a new Instagram account, which I did. I didn't have a name for it. So I just went with the Swedish Maker, which I've lingered, of course. And I was watching Bob Claggett from I Like to Make Stuff a lot back then. And he released a book. And I remember reading that book on an airport to London or something. And it just struck me like maybe I should start a YouTube channel and show people what I create. And back then I was creating mostly leather stuff and some woodworking, but I just started in woodworking. And ever since then, I did that as a hobby for like 3 years. And then we decided to move to this farm and I decided to go full time. And then from there, it kind of turned into like woodworking and 3D printing combined. So I do mostly woodworking, but I use the 3D printers a lot as a help, or I 3D print other stuff. Like I'm redoing our kitchen right now, which isn't any of them, like no woodworking because it's just IKEA.
Mhm.
So tearing down the kitchen and building it back up, but I do some 3D printing. I've like designed a couple of lamp shades that are gonna hang like pendant lights and stuff like that. So I tried to bring in the 3D printing into every project, and Fusion is kind of like today I had to make like a box to cover up the exhaust. What's it called? The exhaust duct or whatever.
Yeah, the range hood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I had to build like a small box for it and adapt it to the duct. And I just went into Fusion and drew it up really quickly because it's easier for my head to have it on a piece of like I printed have it here, like I printed it on paper just so I would have all the dimensions in front of me when I start cutting wood. Otherwise, yeah, it's been ingrown into me how I work. It starts in Fusion and then from there I do the rest.
So you skip the sketching step altogether. You go straight into 3D.
I do the sketching step quickly, and then
Mhm.
I extrude it from there and just
Oh, I meant by
rough
hand.
sketch it.
Like you
Oh
don't draw by hand at all.
no,
You just go straight to 3D.
yeah, my daughter who's 4 years old is better at sketching than me. It's a I've always wanted to learn, but I'm rubbish at it.
Yeah. Um,
Do you do
uh,
sketching before you do go into to like?
yeah. I try to, man. I mean, I'm pretty, I believe that when you're designing things that aren't something super practical, if we're not
Mm,
talking about something like an adapter for a duct or something like that. Um, if you're going to be doing a piece of furniture or some industrial design artifact, something like that, I think it's a good idea to sketch first with your hand and
mm,
kind of experiment with a bunch of different things.
mm,
um that I think is a worthwhile exercise, but I'm so bad about sticking, like keeping up with it.
mm,
My colleague Kaching actually gave me Spencer Nugent from Sketch a Day. He's got a book that's it's called Sketch Every Damn Day, and it's sort of these exercises where you take it and you do industrial design sketch exercises, and the idea is that if you keep practicing, you'll get good at it. I mean, it's not
mm,
there's nothing special about sketching. It's just like anything else. You just have to practice to be able to do it. But the problem really is that I feel like Fusion makes it so easy to skip that step. You just make the thing. I mean, I don't know. It's yeah, it's like I said, if you're doing something there's some real artistic expression coming through this, I think it's a
mm.
worthwhile exercise.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something practical, I don't know. I don't know how worth it is if you're doing it yourself. If you're trying to explain something to somebody else, I think it's
Mm,
really important to be able to do that, because words are not going to get you there. If you're, maybe you could quickly do something like in Tinkercad. I don't know if you've ever played around with that, but
yeah.
that's really good for 3D sketching. You can just kind of quickly slap stuff together and kind of get the idea across that way.
Mm,
But yeah, sketching, I do think, like by hand, that it's a worthwhile thing for communication and to kind of help you think through a problem.
mm,
But I don't know. It just when you get enough practice with Fusion, I find more and more the customers I talk to, and this is myself included in my own experience, I just kind of skip the sketch and I just go straight to, doing it in Fusion. Do the sketches and extrudes there and get going.
yeah.
Um,
For me,
yeah.
it kind of depends on where I start in the process. Because if I'm going to make a chair, for instance, and I have a picture in my head of what the chair is going to look like, then I can go straight into Fusion. But if someone just tells me, "Can you make a chair?" then I would probably start sketching to get a rough shape, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
But then I also absolutely love the feature in Fusion where you can export it as a, what's it called, a UJK, whatever it's called, the file type.
USDZ or ZD, the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the AR file. Yeah.
The AR file, send it to my phone, and I see it in augmented reality, and kind of you can twist it around and see what it would look like in real, which is, I mean, that's a game changer for people selling to customers. I imagine just showing them this is what the cabinet would look like in your home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of promises about VR and AR, and there's been years, I mean, really since probably the 80s, right? Where, oh, this is the wave of the future, virtual reality. You're going to have these goggles on all the time and to see everything. But,
Mm,
the practicality of it ends up being, this is a big clunky thing on your head. I don't think
yeah.
I'm really going to use this. Like maybe if there's a really compelling game or something, like I would
Mm,
do that, but we're not gonna walk around. I'm not gonna go put these on and see what something looks like. But being able to just look at your phone and see the scale of something, I mean,
mm,
that's a big one.
yeah.
And so much of what you're doing, I think, with this stuff is, um, whether you're talking about 3D printing or modeling or parametric design or whatever it is, that you're finding all these ways to test ideas and let things fail without wasting time and money and materials, right? Like
Mm,
that's just another way you can do that. Like let's show this to the client and really make sure the client understands what this is going to be like in their home. Your channel has kind of it started with general making kind of stuff, and then eventually it turned into this focus of 3D printing and woodworking, right?
mm, yeah.
And it seems like that's sort of the sweet spot where you've landed. And I find that really interesting because something we found with a lot of our customers, bigger companies like Ford or Haas, like the people that make big machines that have, these big factories,
Mm,
that they're using 3D printing more and more for manufacturing aids. So
mm,
it's not necessarily part of your production process. Like if you're doing a small run of something, sure, it's no problem. You can use 3D printing for all kinds of stuff. But
mm,
for a factory or for a workshop, having it there to quickly give you manufacturing aids, tools and jigs and things like that solve your problems.
mm.
Um, it seems like it's getting bigger and bigger there, and
Yeah,
I see you doing a lot of that stuff.
yeah, yeah. I actually spoke to a truck mechanic the other day, and I asked him about like, do you have a 3D printer in your workshop? And he was like, no. And I asked him like, do a lot of jigs and stuff like that? And he was like, yeah, we do. And I said, well, if you had one, you could just 3D print it. And he was like, yeah, that would be so helpful because a lot of times we have to hire someone to make those jigs, and
Hmm.
it costs a lot of money. And I think the 3D printer it can be sometimes I just print like a drill hole jig because
Hmm.
I could also measure it, but I'm gonna do it 20 times, so I know if I have a jig for it, it's gonna be quicker. So I think the industry is gonna it's gonna come more and more into the industries, and probably what they need is people who can actually do the custom things. Because what I've noticed is a lot of people, they want to get a 3D printer, and although there are tons of files to download, you always end up in a place where you go, oh, I would need this custom part, which is just custom to me and no one else. Uh, uh, Getting the knowledge to be able to do your own things like that, it's just, yeah, you're your own manufacturing machine, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think the perception of it, I think, has changed a lot as well. Because there was a while there where when these machines first came out, this was, I guess, when the Stratasys patent expired,
Mm,
and everybody started doing this open source stuff, and you had like, RepRap, right? And there were all these, everybody was making their own machines. There were kits. There was the MakerBot, the laser cut plywood one, and all that stuff, and everybody was kind of experimenting with everything, and it was almost like it had to be a 3D printing itself was the interest. It was
mm,
the machine, right? It was like understanding how this machine works and tweaking it and all that. Like that's what people were interested in, more so than just using it as a tool, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like we've come to this point now where we're past that. We've got Bamboo Lab, we've got uh Prusa, we've got Form Labs. I mean, now we just have machines that just do what you need it to do, and
Mm,
it happens quickly, and you plug and play, it comes out of the box, it's ready to go. It's not a kit, you don't have to put anything together. You just, here's the tool, it does the thing.
mm,
um, and that's a big game changer.
yeah.
I feel like there was always sort of this promise that, oh, it'll be like having a microwave. You'll have one in your garage or whatever, and you need something, you'll just download it and put it on there, and it comes out. And that was just not the case for a long time. But I think we're kind of getting closer to that, and it's definitely much more widely used with people who are doing woodworking, furniture, shops. We see lots of this in auto shops now.
Yeah.
Um, not just jigs and stuff like the guy you were talking about, but we've
Mm,
got people who are doing, if you're doing anything aftermarket automotive, if you're a shop that where people come to get their kind of 90s Japanese sports car to be repaired in some way or whatever, anything that has to do with older cars, classic cars that people actually care about,
mm,
it's really hard to get those parts. So you scan the one that you have on the left, the headlight enclosure or something, and
mm,
then you just bring that into Fusion and mirror it, and then you print it out, and now you have a copy of it for the other side. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think I visited the Form Next in Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago, and I I mean, it was impressive to see all the 3D printers there, and but the thing I was lacking, or what I was hoping to get more of, were ideas. I think because they all had like basketball, the ugly shoes, uh, teeth. for some reason.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was just walking around seeing the same prints everywhere, and I was like, but where's the creativity? Like there's so much we can use them for, except for making a half decent basketball. Like um, I would like to see more how it's being used in different industries and from different perspectives. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. We had, so we have our event, Autodesk University, every year. And this last year it was in Nashville. And we had a guy there. He's in a wheelchair, and the wheelchair has this electric motor that has a wheel that engages with the ground,
Mm,
with the floor or whatever. And then there's a bracket that attaches it to the frame of the wheelchair, right?
yeah.
So he's getting around, and the bracket breaks. So what do? This part costs $300, and it comes from the Netherlands. And
Mm,
so this guy basically is just, I mean, he's going to have to buy a new one, I guess. I don't know what the solution is here.
mm,
So somebody came to our booth and told us what was happening, and we said, "Oh yeah, no problem." So you take it, get some calipers out, measure the thing. It's pretty simple. It's not going to be strong enough if it comes straight off the machine. We'll put a nut and a bolt in there. We've got a bunch of spares over here. We'll design it like that, put it through, clamp the thing, and then the guy was ready to go in, an hour and a half or something.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah,
Unfortunate that his wheelchair broke, but so cool that we were able to put that together for him so quickly. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're sort of past this point where I think people are thinking about it as this is going to make a finished product for you. There are
Mm,
definitely some cases where that's possible. If you're talking about Gridfinity, for example, right? That's a good example of something that's, yeah, this thing comes off, it works as it's supposed to. It's a object that you're going to use as is.
mm,
And then there's all these other possibilities with it where it's sort of support for other things that you don't necessarily see.
yeah.
And you don't, because I think people see they see the layer lines now, and it's like, it's 3D printed. You don't really,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel legitimate, right? It's sort of like, oh, this is my nephew in his basement has one of these
Mm,
things, whatever. But I think people are I've seen this in your work too, getting smart about how to use it in a way that it's not so conspicuous.
yeah. Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
I mean, now that I actually try to combine it. So the reason I narrowed my channel down or niche down more into to combining woodworking and 3D printing was that I was all over the place. And a friend told me like, yeah, visiting your channel is like visiting a restaurant that has a new menu every week, and it's like this week it's leather and this week it's woodworking. So that was a decision to narrow it down. So now I actually try to combine them. So whenever if I'm doing a bench, for instance, I actually think like, so where does the 3D printer come into this? And I'm like, okay, so this shape is quite hard to make. Let's make a template. And what woodworkers normally do is you make a template perhaps of the leg shape, and you CNC it out, or you laser it out, or you just jigsaw it out, or whatever. But I realized like I could 3D print it. That saves me all the time I would use to make that jig is now saved because the 3D printer is doing it, and I already have the drawing since I've drawn the shape up in Fusion. Um, so stuff like that, and also jigs, and but also sometimes like I've made products as well. Like I've made lamps with the 3D printer where the 3D print is the final product, but it's always combined with woodworking in some sense as well. Like I made a really big lamp that I found on in a Swedish store that was just dowels basically and a big lampshade. So I made that because it was like super expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried to combine those two in whatever ways I can think of. But most of the time, like the ideas actually come to me, uh, like, oh, I would need a jig for this, or I would need a template for this, or whatever, and I 3D print it.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
how
also
does,
like a help, I can show you a thing I'm working on. that I've delayed for a while because I'm not sure. But it's a brass chunk part, and I drew this in Fusion. It took me a long while to understand how I was going to do this because I wanted it to fit with this part. So this is going to be wood, but it's
Yeah.
currently a 3D print. So I want the legs of the furniture to have like almost
Nice.
like the wood is dripping down
Melting.
into the melting into the brass or the other way
Wow.
around. Um,
That's cool.
so that way I've just 3D printed this just to because I wanted to see if it would be a good
Yeah.
fit and but now I need to CNC this part out, of course, and I haven't done that yet, but I
Yeah.
hoping it works.
Is the brass part is that machined? Did that come from a service bureau?
Yeah, service bureau because I could have wrapped the leg in a thin sheet of brass, but I wanted it to be really
Yeah.
chunky and so I had them make it for me, and then I do the wood myself.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so I've always had the idea that like a YouTube career doesn't last forever. So whenever I'm not up to it anymore, it doesn't uh, get enough views to earn myself a decent salary. I would have to come up with something else to do, and then now I have a workshop equipped with the tools to be able to make furniture. So I could do furniture for sale. I could do 3D printing. I could do like courses, actual physical courses where people come in and I show them how to do stuff, which I think it would be great. I've made so many things with my kids as well. Like my daughter saw a house in a children's book and she said that should be perfect as a birdhouse. And I said let's draw it up and print it, which we did. So we lasered out plywood and 3D printed everything else around the house. And she was with me in Fusion. I was showing her like this is what you do here, and we created something together. Like that's a physical thing, and I think people would really enjoy to be able to do that as well. So my wife got some 3D printers now because I we managed to persuade her boss to let her come with me to Form Next. So I said I'll give the school a 3D printer, and then we actually met a very kind guy in Frankfurt who heard my story or our story, and he said I also want to donate printers to her school. So now she was like, what am I going to do with it? And I showed Tinkercad and I was like, you can have all the kids make their own ring, for instance. Just teach them how to draw a ring. It's super easy. And then they can print it and see if it fits with the measurements they put in. So I think teaching people the possibilities of it all, that's also something I really would love to keep doing. Like come into my workshop and let's say what you want to make and we'll try to make it. That would be like an awesome thing, almost
Yeah.
like a collaboration course.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Mm.
Your wife's a teacher?
She's a teacher. I used to be a teacher as well, so yeah, we're kind of a teacher family.
Yeah, mine is too.
Yeah.
And I taught grad school, so I don't that doesn't count. But yeah, my wife's an art teacher, and it's yeah, that's something I've thought of quite a bit as well. I mean, I volunteer every once in a while. I'll go to a high school or a middle school or something like that, and kind of give them a fusion presentation, give them a little project to work with, and
Mm.
First Robotics is another thing a lot of us here at Autodesk volunteer for, which is like a this robotics competition where they try to get a ball through a hoop. Basically, it's like robot basketball. Think of it like that. But
Yeah.
there's all these little obstacles and stuff, and the stuff these students come up with, man, it's incredible. I mean, this kid's 15 years old and he's got a he's got a handle on robotics that would like, make him a shoe in for NASA engineering. Basically, the kid hasn't even been to college yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that stuff is super fun. Do
Yeah.
your is your audience do you see a lot of teachers in your audience? Is there much of an education audience there?
Not sure. Not something I've noticed. No, but regarding the kids, I think there was a TED talk way back when by Sir Ken Robinson on how schools kill creativity, and I
Yeah.
think that's so true because like the kids come up with the craziest ideas, but
Yeah.
they are so free in their mind to come up with stuff that perhaps I wouldn't think about, because I see all the boundaries all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should use or talk to the kids even more in that perspective of coming up with good ideas.
Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and look at your shop. I want to see what you got going on in there.
Yeah, so this is my office, my kitchen area where I wash my hands and make coffee, basically.
Yeah.
And then the computer and the printers. That's just a massive shelf of printers and filament. So when I leave that office, I get into the woodworking part. It's a mess right now because of boxes and I'm sanding our kitchen tabletop right here, and I've just made like a butcher block for the kitchen as well.
Nice.
So this is my kind of like my living room of the workshop. So since this is a woodworking shop and a recording studio in a sense, I've tried to make it like a place that looks nice for the camera, but also a place I would like to be at and work. Hence, like a rug and stuff that people normally don't have in a woodworking shop.
Yeah.
And then there's the like table saw and dust collector and router table and planer thicknesser. And then there's a laser over there and just kitchen over there. So that's basically it. Yeah.
And we're also seeing your camera arm there from the ceiling. That's one of the projects I watched you put together. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I don't know if I can record myself, but it's incredibly. It's like an upgrade from. I don't know. It's crazy good to have that and just leave it and go record whatever I'm doing. It's been great so far.
Yeah, major time saver, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to do some upgrades to it in the future, but for now, this is a true upgrade from a regular tripod.
All right. Well, Pierre, thanks so much, man. This is super interesting. The audience is going to love this. I just know it. There's so many people doing the same kind of work you are. And I want to encourage everybody to go subscribe to your channel, check out your website. There's some cool merch there too. So show them some love. And thanks for coming, man. Thanks for using Fusion and telling us about your work.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Hey, everyone. Jonathan here. If you're a designer, builder, or maker, and you want to be part of this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. The email is in the video description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all things Shop Talk. If you're ready to try Fusion for yourself, find the link in our description.